I can do the Lone Ranger and snaps.
Hidden talents. There's a segment for.
That's right. Big finish. All right. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the Disorganized Religion Podcast. I am Matt Horan, the pastor at Heritage United Methodist Church, and I am joined by my partner in crime,
Eric Johnson, Director of Adult Education and Online Content.
You know, not to minimize either of those two critically important things, out of curiosity, to tell a little more about yourself to the people at home, what else you have going on other than the whole adult discipleship and digital content thing?
Well, I don't think it's a big secret, so a lot of people know, but I am also a head swimming coach for the YMCA. The team name is PYP, which stands for Pinellas YMCA Piranhas. We train out of the...
Why isn't it the YMCA P?
I don't know. Too long to say that.
Got it. Sorry,
we train out of the North Pinellas branch, right there in Landsbrook, just south of Eastlake High School. So that's where I go most afternoons and spend some time coaching swimming. So I was a swimmer in high school. I swam in college. A lot of my history revolves around swimming, and I'd been out of it for a long time. And then my kids got involved with it in high school, and I started helping out and got the bug to get back involved. And
that's how they get you.
It's and I've always loved hanging out with middle schoolers and teenagers. That's always something that I've always enjoyed. And so this gives me a chance to do that and be a part of their lives and be more than just a swim coach. You know, I really want to impart, a value system that makes them, good adults in the future. So. It's fun and I enjoy it and it's very rewarding.
Cool.
And I see it as an extension of our ministry. A lot of people, they ask me what do you do when you're not here? I get the same question. So, I work at a church. Oh, what do you do? Oh, well, and that gives me a chance to talk about, my faith and where I work and heritage. And
cool. So do they ask you, so what do you do the rest of the week?
Yeah, so I get that question at both jobs. So on Sunday mornings, I go, what do you do the rest of the week? And
my favorite question. So you only work one day a week? That's right. That's right.
This all happens in
Can I tell you an interesting language arts fact about the word swims?
There's a language art
Not that
fact
I was really going to wait
swims?
for your permission, but here, I'm going to show you using one of your little... dry erase thingies here. So
okay, swims.
It's an ambigram.
A what?
The word swims is an ambigram.
Is that when
Do you know what an
when you
ambigram
can
is?
spell a word forwards and backwards? That
Nope.
although that isn't. No, I guess it isn't.
No, W's make a W sound and M's make a M sound. So close.
Okay, yeah.
But no. No, an ambigram is actually a word that is the same if it's upside down.
Oh, very interesting.
Mind-blowing things.
How many words can do that? I
Not
can't
many.
be that many.
Not many.
Does it have to have an S and a W and an M?
So-
Like it has
so-
to have those letters in it.
Not many. Some people cheat though and do like these cool like designs where they kind of like make the letters look in a way that can pull it off. But the actual ones that are just like that have that happen in like a
Naturally.
regular font is pretty it's a pretty short list. Pretty short list. So, but I already feel like we've been so educational today at here on the podcast. You know, we do not just work on Sunday; we work other days too. It's not like we work on Sunday and then just nap all day every day. That makes for a good baby, but not a good grown-up.
The
Apparently.
napping.
Yeah, apparently a good baby will sleep all day long. A good husband, for say, a good husband does not do that, apparently.
Yeah.
Having tried that, it didn't go well for me.
Didn't go over well.
Most times, yeah. So I do hit the adrenaline crash Sunday afternoon sometimes, and it doesn't matter what's happening. I'm gonna fall asleep like wherever I am, so I might as well go ahead and get on a couch or on a bed somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah. So so I do have some thoughts to share though about church life. When I need to cut this out. Which one do we decide to go with? Are we going to go with the contemporary? We'll do the contemporary one, right?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I had some interesting things that I've noticed lately about our work at the church. For one thing, you know what's a funny word?
Pew?
Pew.
You and I have some history with that.
Eric and I have discussed that before. There's probably some good like Latin reason why your chair is called a pew. But
Was that one of the ones that Jim Harnish didn't like when we made the? He didn't really. We started making fun of some of the.
That's true. We made fun
that
of some
he
traditions.
didn't really
Yeah,
appreciate.
that's true. I don't know if that was one of them. That was probably fine. Yeah, Eric and I used to work at another church, and we started a contemporary service in the youth building, sort of like the cool, dark youth building service that churches are doing now. And we engineered that at a previous church, and so we made fun of some stuff that you'd find in a regular sanctuary, like the word pew.
Yeah. And flowers and. In
Yeah.
retrospect, it probably was Jim. In retrospect, usually Jim was correct on that sort of stuff.
Should you mock church? Probably not.
Should you,
know,
make fun of the other service to promote your own?
Right.
No,
Probably not.
no.
Right. I will say though, kind of a nagging, annoying thing that I've had going on for a while that has actually grown on me and has now made me kind of think deep philosophical thoughts. You know, autocorrect on your phone, right? Autocorrect is
Siri and Google.
right. Autocorrect is notorious for some pretty embarrassing transformations to the things people are writing on their phones. And mine isn't embarrassing, but it is odd. You can imagine that when I am texting, emailing, we have this messenger system that we use on the staff, and I can do all these things from my phone. And so my phone's autocorrect sometimes gets involved in my communication with my staff. And so you can imagine that I would often type the word worship. That's
Right, a word that you would
kind
use
of
a
our
lot
business,
in-
right? I use
yeah.
that word a lot. And every time I type in the word worship to my phone, it autocorrects to another word.
Really?
Can you guess in a million years what word worship would autocorrect to?
Worship. No. What?
It corrects to the word weirdo.
Well,
A couple times it has gotten through and been sent that way. Usually I catch it, but there have been a couple times when I've talked about our weirdo service on Sunday, or said wanted to thank someone for attending our weirdo service, right? But it's been growing on me, making me think a little bit, because one of the debates that churches have had for decades has been how weird should a worship service be, right? Here we are at this last church, and we have a similar service here, where we have the cool, darker, no windows service in the
Right.
youth building, right? It kind of feels more like jazz club, comedy club, dark black box space that everyone's sitting in,
Right.
with the stage up in the front, and so that feels like a place that you've been to for other stuff, right? Like you've gone to a small concert hear a comedy show. Like this is the kind of place you would go to that.
Right.
Different
Something
than
that feels familiar and
right.
common.
Feels familiar.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it wouldn't be a huge leap to go from seeing a concert at a place like that to going to church at a place like that.
Which is very intentional. We do that on purpose.
Correct.
Trying to
Right.
make the space feel comfortable and welcoming and familiar.
Right.
To a non-churched.
And that's the
audience,
argument.
right?
The argument, right, is that if you do a more contemporary service, say with less, for lack of a better word, well, I have better words, but I already used this word, so I'm going to kind of keep going with it. Fewer weird things,
Right.
like the robes, candles,
Right.
choirs, processions up the middle aisle.
Right. Not stuff you find outside of
Right.
a church setting.
Right. Yeah.
Organs. There's not a whole lot of organs.
Yeah, paper organ. Yeah, you don't see a whole lot of that kind of thing happening out there in your regular day. So, the question I've been wrestling with is, should a worship service in this case, be weird? How weird should it be? If you think about it, people following Jesus, if you truly are being like Jesus, your life will be remarkably different than the average life.
Yeah.
People were persecuted in the first century, and actually centuries after that too, for being like Jesus and the way that it threatened the status quo. So the whole premise of following Jesus, living your life to love God and love your neighbor before selfishly loving yourself, that's a weird life. And as we have had these worship experiences over the centuries that have involved the robes, the candles, carrying a big brass cross in, having all the marble and the columns and the different architectural terms, the nave and the chancel and the apse and the transept and the and the narthex, which we still use the word narthex, which I'm not sure that's really helpful, but we still say that. Yeah. So is there something to be said for the value of those things, or is all of it to be pitched for the sake of making people who are new feel more comfortable?
Yeah. Well, it made me start thinking about how odd or how weird did the Jews seem to the society that they were living in. So when we read the Old Testament, right, they were supposed to be a people set apart,
Mm-hmm.
right? So their practices and their would have been seen as weird as compared to those around them, right?
Definitely.
And certainly the first Christians were looked at as pretty weird. When that movement first started, so it seems to me, being a follower of God and being a follower of Jesus, it's been weird since the beginning.
Monotheism was weird.
Yeah.
The whole idea of not having idols. Like there were whole businesses that built idols. That's how they made their livelihood.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden there's just one God and you're not allowed to make idols anymore. That hurts their bottom line.
Yeah. But I mean, over time, as we became, at least in Western societies, we became a Judeo-Christian.
Prominently.
Some of those morals, became the norm, right? But they were still considered weird when they started, right? The treatment of children and women, the building of hospitals, the building of schools, the idea of caring for the sick and the poor. I mean, those were weird concepts when they came out. They're mainstream now, but so Christianity's been weird since the beginning. And then if you are a believer that a man predicted his own death, died, was raised again 3 days later.
Weird.
That's weird. That's so. Even today, that's
You
still
don't
weird.
see that every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that brings you back to the worship topic. Should it be weird? I don't know. Maybe it should be a little bit.
Yeah. So I guess the question is contemporary worship like a starter? Right? You start there, and then you work in
Like beginner's worship?
Right, beginner's worship, and then you might move over to a place with a little more marble. You're doing hymns with actual like stanzas versus the what traditional worshipers would call the 7-Eleven songs, where in contemporary worship, where you sing the same 7 words 11 times.
My favorite with some contemporary music is can you take the word Jesus out and submit it with your girlfriend's name? And is it I love you, Jesus. I love you, Sarah. That's
Wow, challenge accepted. I'm gonna be doodling on that later. See what I can pull off. I'll offer this. I think it could be a gift to my wife. Is here, honey. Here's this list of hymns that I've changed the word Jesus to the word Susan. You're welcome. And she would say, "That's weird."
That's weird. Yeah.
Speaking of weird,
but no, I don't think contemporary worship is a. I mean, we intentionally try to make it comfortable for non-Christians, but if that was how you saw worship, then is like the graduate level. If you go all the way to Roman Catholic again, do you have to do you have to have marble pillars and incense and
Yeah, I mean, you think about like the. So I was just back in Philadelphia at our Catholic church where I grew up for my dad's funeral, and you forget the effort that goes into building these cathedral-like spaces, right? I mean, hundreds of years ago, and the architecture, the artistry that goes into creating these spaces is done because the artisans want to glorify God in the way this looks, right? Like the wooden beams holding the ceiling up are carved into angel faces. I remember being in like the 3rd grade in Catholic school, going there, and like it's like they're watching you. So it's a little intimidating back then.
The nuns probably wanted you to think
they wanted that. You to think that, right? The Sister Helen,
always watching.
God bless her. The angels are always watching. But now I'm looking at it and just thinking, I'm imagining a person on a scaffold 250 years ago building this thing, carving that face into that piece of wood, and just it's awe-inspiring. And the whole reason that they would design these spaces with the high ceilings, and I'm not talking like a 10-footer, like
the big ones. Yeah.
It looks like an upside down hold of a ship. They built that because they wanted the empty space above you to draw your eyes up there. They wanted you to, like, they designed this to literally make you look up into the heavens,
up to God. Yeah.
And so there's a purpose behind these things that we have eliminated to make it less weird.
Right.
And
on the converse, then, has it become too familiar?
Great
God
question.
Become too easy, too, Jesus is my friend.
Right. And is that solved with more marble and a pipe organ?
Does he become less friendly?
Right. Because there's a pipe organ at the Tampa Theater. I don't know if anyone's getting saved in there lately. If there's a church meeting in there right now, I apologize. I'm sure people are getting saved there. But there are places with marble and pipe organs that have a negligible effect on your soul. But I think the attention to detail that people would pour into building these cathedral spaces, there's a feeling you get when you walk into one of these places. And I had the privilege of going over to England and Ireland in recent years, and to go into the worship spaces there. I like history. I love visiting places in America where it's been there, 300-400 years. Like, you have a church over there that was there 1,000 years ago, and people still were worshiping Jesus and creating these spaces to draw you into the experience of encountering Jesus Christ in this place. And you think of the. I got to go to the church in Ireland where they first performed Handel's Messiah.
Oh wow.
So like you're walking around and like you're thinking like these floor tiles, these walls, these are the first ones that the Hallelujah chorus echoed off of ever, right? Hundreds of years ago, and you couldn't do Handel's Messiah in a black box theater, comedy club space. You couldn't do it. It needs to echo off the floors and the walls and the ceiling.
Yeah.
And so is there something lost? Yes. So is what you gain enough to pay the cost of what you've lost in, in not having those beautifully carved marble, granite pillar things.
Well, and it's funny that you talk about the way the music sounded in those spaces, and the way they look and feel, and we do, being on the tech side of worship, we do a lot to try to mimic that artificially, right? So in order to get that reverb, we add that effect into the music, from the sound booth.
You add some audio marble
to get some of those cool backdrops. We create artificial windows and stained glass graphics, and
that's true. Just
we
have
do
right now,
stuff to try to mimic that that classic traditional feel. And I think there's there was some skill and some purpose in behind those older buildings.
I've said several times that the existence of different denominations within the Christian faith is a testament to the grace of God meeting people where they are. Right? There are different personalities that need predestination to feel secure. There are people who need the Wesleyan free will to believe that there's not strings being pulled to make everything happen. There's people who need the certainty of biblical inerrancy, and there's people who need the freedom to think a little bit about what I just read without having the pressure of nailing down the facts right this very second. We bicker back and forth about who's right and who's wrong, but I really do think there's probably a lot of grace in that where God is reaching out to us according to who we are. So, it's possible to me anyway that this is another one of those ways that the grace of God is shown by creating a worship space that speaks to people who have this kind of preference, learning style, whatever, and people who have this experience. I mean, there are plenty of people who left a more traditional church for whatever negative reason, and prefer a building that looks nothing like a church.
What I find interesting too is a lot of the studies that are coming out is your style of work. We used to think your style of worship was predicated on your age, and what you grew up with and what you were accustomed to. But that's not necessarily the truth anymore. There are millennials and young people who are attracted to traditional worship because it's different than what they experience when they go to concerts. They're looking for something different than what they could get going to the arenas or whatever. And
that fascinates me.
And then there's people that are more seasoned Christians that enjoy a contemporary worship service and the energy and the volume of the music and the so it's your preference of style of worship doesn't seem to be as tied to age as we thought it was either. So
nor does it seem to be tied to the quality of your discipleship, right? There are equally deep, passionate followers of Jesus in both traditional and contemporary worship, and there are also shallow, pop in and pop out disciples of Jesus Christ who are good at both also, right? So obviously, becoming a growing disciple of Jesus Christ is not hinged on which kind of service you go to, even though some might argue either way. I'll tell you honestly, if for some reason we have a Sunday morning where I'm in one of the two services and not both, I feel off.
That's interesting.
I feel like I've had the whole experience if I've been in the contemporary service, the modern service, and if I've been in the traditional service. I sometimes I'll even wear jeans and a t-shirt or button-up shirt in the contemporary, and then I'll do a wardrobe change, put on my shirt and tie, slacks, and robe up and then do that. And I feel like, and there's some hassle there, right, to rush over, change, but there's something just that feels complete about it to me that I just really love. And if ever I was to go to a church that had one and not the other, that would be tough for me, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't like the blended scene, right, where you try to do both at the same time.
Yeah, that never seems to work.
I mean, I've heard that I've been told by some people they've seen it work. I think that's kind of like the Loch Ness Monster. Some people have seen a grainy picture of it, but is it really real? Was it more of a legend than anything else? Yeah, I don't know. It's like saying a Bigfoot. Like, was it really there? But I prefer like all the way one way or all the way the other. Like I want and even those churches that have like the traditional space but still contemporary it up some. I like, if we're gonna do traditional, let's robe it up, process in, have the acolytes, have the carry the cross in, lift high the cross, walk into the hymns, organ, the whole thing, and and feel it. So I don't know. I like them both, and I feel like I'm missing it if I don't get one, but get the other. So I don't know. But I do know that it's a preference thing. Obviously, when you only work one day a week, you probably should go to church at least twice, like we do. But just kidding, we do not just work one day a week. But friends, whichever kind of service you go to, I hope that you will join us sometime at Heritage. We have both. The modern service is at 9. Our traditional service is at 11. And you can come as you are to either one. We're glad to have you. But for now, thanks so much for joining us on the Disorganized Religion podcast. We hope you'll join us again next time. And don't forget to check us out on the website, heritageumc.com, or on Facebook at Heritage United Methodist in Clearwater. So thanks again. Take care. Have a good week.
See you, everyone.